24/7 Digital Now Center. This is Beyond the Forecast with your most accurate local meteorologists.
Hello, everyone. I'm meteorologist Dan Tomaso.
And I'm meteorologist Eric Finkenbinder. We are 2 days now before the storm, Dan. We've got the meeting of the meteorologists, so this must be a big one.
Yeah, so this is the meeting, that we've been talking internally now for a couple of days about snow totals, snow impacts, more about impacts than totals, because we often say that, you could try to measure as best as you can for everyone's backyard. You could try to predict that. It's kind of a fool's errand. It never quite works out that way. We know it's going to snow at this point.
We do, and we've weathered a lot of storms together.
Yes, we have.
The entire team. We can go all the way back. We may not have been here during the 93 blizzard, but we were at home, the 96 blizzard. And when you start seeing this storm, for a lot of storms, we don't really get all that excited because
Correct.
we've been through a lot of them. But this one, I think it caught our attention a little bit more. And it certainly did a lot through social media, too.
Some of that, I think, has to do with the cold leading into the weekend.
Yeah.
Temperatures in the teens, which I often say we rarely get snowstorms when it's very cold. Normally, we're kind of towing that line of 30 to 35 degrees, somewhere in that range. It always seems like it works out this way. Not the case now. We are going to be plenty cold. It's coming in at night or early morning, depending on how you want to look at the timing. And it's going to add up right away as it hits Sunday morning.
I'm just glad that it's happening on a Sunday.
Right.
If there's a time to do it, let's have it on a Sunday. Certainly there is going to be some cleanup and some time here on a Monday, but probably for this to be a disruptive storm, Monday would be the day. And I think for a lot of us, we could probably get back in the swing of things by Tuesday. And
I
again,
think so.
as you mentioned, because of this Arctic air, this is not a mixed type of storm.
No.
We're not getting lots of ice on top of it or anything. This is going to be a somewhat powdery snow, I think, to a degree.
Oh, yeah, especially initially. Now, as we get closer to that mixing line, maybe by midday Sunday, that's when it could get a little bit more heavier and wet, but that's not going to be necessarily everywhere. It's going to be more areas to the south, and we're going to mention that awful word when it comes to snow forecasting, sleet.
Yes.
Sleet is never fun to deal with.
It's not, but it's better than freezing rain.
Yes.
So, it's more like ice pellets. If it mixes in with the snow, that's fine. That may condense the snow just a little bit, but I'd rather clean up pellets than actual glazes of ice from freezing
100%.
rain. We don't see that taking shape, too. At this point, let's see what we have happening now leading into the storm, Dan.
Yeah, what a day so far. I mentioned this at noon, but you wouldn't necessarily know there's something major coming down the pike. It's been sunny. It's been mild temperatures approaching 50 degrees in spots. Not bad at all, but there's cold air just on the other side of the mountains. Most of western PA has been in the 20s and 30s throughout the course of the day, but there's our local numbers. The valley locations peaked earlier in the upper 40s. So again, sunshine, upper 40s, usually not the ingredients you want to see ahead of a storm.
It's not, but as I've been mentioning to a lot of our viewers, this is the last time we're going to be above average
Yes.
for January. I think just as important as this storm that's coming is the amount of Arctic air that locks in here heading into next week, which of course we'll get into those details too.
Yeah, you're going to keep the layers handy over the next few days.
Absolutely.
Hats and gloves, the whole 9 yards, which with kids, as I'm learning as a new parent, is a lot of fun to try to keep track of. So the big picture shows the kind of players on the board, if you will. This first area of high pressure comes in tomorrow. And then behind that, there's actually a more serious area of high pressure. This one's been kind of working out, lifting the weights. We're talking about an area of high pressure, which if you are a weather junkie, normal high pressure centers are about 1030 millibars this time of the year. This one's pushing 1050 millibars. This is heavy, dense Arctic air, and this is coming in from the Northwest Territories of Canada.
And this is what was creating some complications when we were trying to forecast snow amounts. Sometimes this bullish air mass can squash a lot of this moisture and keep it to the south. That's why it did seem like earlier in the week, North Carolina, Virginia, that was the bullseye for this snow. That has changed. I don't want to necessarily say we're in the bullseye, but I think we could be in what we would call a sweet spot.
A sweet spot for sure. And it's that zone where it's cold enough, but not quite warm enough to see overall big mixing concerns. what looked to be a snowstorm in the Carolinas and Virginia now, unfortunately, looks like a sloppy mess.
Yeah, it does.
So and some icing concerns there. But let's step through Precision Cast, Eric, because now that you're in on shift, we can actually see a lot of the detail here, getting closer to Sunday. So tonight, not a whole lot going on. Some passing clouds. Tomorrow morning, waking up to passing cloud cover. But I think clouds thicken at times tomorrow afternoon, but really into Saturday. It is an overcast day Saturday. And to your point, the cold air, temperatures in the teens on Saturday.
It's
with cloudy conditions.
I'm outside regardless.
I figured you are.
It takes your breath away, especially if you get a little bit of a breeze. Now, I think Saturday is going to be really the calm before the storm, but it's going to be the calm and the cold before the storm. It's going to be pretty quiet here, but yeah, we really established that Arctic air. It's in place, and it's something that we're going to be working with throughout the entire day Sunday.
Yes, so then this brings us into Saturday night. So Saturday night, probably around midnight, some of the first areas of snow work their way in. That always happens a little bit quicker than the model guidance suggests. Again, warm air waits for no one. Again, warm, relatively speaking, warmer up above in the atmosphere. And then all of a sudden, the floodgates open in terms of snow. And I mentioned this at noon. You were starting to see on Precision Cast little gradients beginning to pick up. And sometimes that shows up as purple on our maps. That's the heavier snow developing Sunday morning. So it's something to look for when you're watching our updates, that purple area goes from about white to purple and then eventually to pink when we get to sleet. But it's that purple area that's some pretty heavy snow. That forecast model takes us through early morning. The Euro takes us the rest of the way.
Yes, it does. Now, I would say an established start time before we get throughout the day on Sunday would midnight Saturday night be sort of a safe onset? Or
light snow. Not a whole lot going on yet.
I think when we really get into that heavier gradient that you were talking about, that's going to be probably around daybreak Sunday morning, but that will last probably throughout the entire morning hours.
Yes.
And that is when we could see those 2-inch snow per hour.
Yes.
Low visibility. That's when you don't really want to be out driving in conditions like that.
No.
That is really when we're going to be in the thick of the storm, Dan.
And, obviously there are church services. There are things going on Sunday morning. We all want to keep our routines, but I think that is definitely a time period to stay home.
Yeah. Now, as we get later in the day, Sunday, it's going to snow, by the way, the entire day. But I think your snow rates are going to be more like a 1/2 inch to 1 inch
Tapering
per hour.
a little, yes.
Yeah, so I wouldn't want to get out the snow blower around noon or 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon to me, unless you don't want to, cut it all at one time.
Yeah, I'm considering going out in rounds because my little electric snow blower probably has a 10-inch hood on the front of it. It's not big.
I guess because I have farm equipment that I can just jump on and just get it all done at one time, I normally wait till the end of it. But yeah, I guess it all depends on what equipment you do have to take care of this. But this is going to be one of those storms that is almost 24 hours long.
Yes, and so when does it start to wrap up? Likely it starts to wrap up as some lighter snow rates heading into Sunday afternoon, but also, depending on where you live, I think areas south of Harrisburg could get sleet as early as noontime. I mean, we see this every single time a storm coming up from the south or the southwest, sleet sneaks in. And no matter what the storm is, no matter what the guidance says, it's a little bit north and west than suggested.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that. You may hear some sleet pellets. It may go back to snow, and then it may go back to sleet. There might be some transition in between.
I think overall, it's not going to change much of anything as far as cleanup.
Nope.
This isn't going to be something that sticks to power lines or anything like that. Again, sleet's more of the ice pellet.
It bounces everywhere.
Correct.
Or it lays on top of the snow.
If anything, this sleet is just going to reduce some snow totals in parts of the mid-state. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. And by the way, we're still going to get plenty of snow.
We are, yeah.
If you want to be disappointed about the sleet, I get it. But storms moving out then heading into Sunday night and Monday. Monday, the residual impacts will be your closings, etc. But this is the map. I mean, this is our first look at our forecast map for Sunday, if you want to take it away on that.
Yeah, from a storm that goes from Texas all the way to Maine, a lot of the times you see 3 or 4 different colors on our map. We really have to narrow things down, but it's such a very broad storm that this still wasn't an easy forecast to make for us, especially when we're trying to incorporate the potential for sleet, then the 2-inch per hour snow rates, and there was probably 1,000 to 2,000 text messages between all of us.
Because the data just keeps coming in. I mean, the wild part. I mean, for each model, we get 4 to 8 updates a day.
Exactly. So the toughest part as a weather team is now. When by the time the storm's here, it's more or less just watching and observing it. But we spend a lot of time trying to put together a map. So this is not just one large broad brush, but we feel pretty confident, and this could be about a foot snowstorm, and that is something that we have not seen for almost 7 or 8 years. So the 8-inch is going to be for some areas that do encounter the sleet,
Right.
that you could see some
That's
lower
encountering
amounts.
the lower end of it, yes.
If you're looking at all snow, then you're probably going to be closer to that 12 to 14 range.
Indeed. So again, most of us getting a very impactful snow out of this, likely over 8 inches for many locations. That's where the range comes from. But again, as you mentioned, the higher potentials there too of a foot or more in spots. So let's go quickly to the timeline here that this is something you've already seen. We've had this out now for about 24 hours. But again, the heaviest snow period is Sunday morning, starting to taper into Sunday afternoon. Those 2-inch per hour rates are during the morning, as you mentioned, Eric. And again, the odds are pretty high in this case that we will end up with close to 10, 11, 12 inches of snow.
Yeah, and I would much rather clean up a more of a powdery snow than a wet, heavy snow.
100%.
And I think that's that's going to be the snow type for this too. So cleanup hours. This does wrap up, Sunday night. That gives us an opportunity for a lot of the crews to get out. Monday is going to be the cleanup day, so I really feel by the time we get into the Tuesday time frame, I don't want to say it's fully back to business as normal, but
Getting close.
yeah, I certainly think getting close.
Now, this will make it a little bit more challenging how cold we are.
We need to add that to the mix for
Yes.
next week too. Yes.
And you've been harping on this. I've been harping on this on the air. But yes, the snowstorm's a big deal. But also snow and very cold weather after that fact. It is going to be cold through the end of the month. So by the time we get to next Friday, maybe there's a pattern shift coming that it's within 10 days, 14 days, we see a change. But for the near term, we're stuck with the cold and the snow.
And this is, I don't want to say unusual, but when is the last time we had snow that stuck around for a week?
It's been a long time.
It doesn't happen that often.
Even the big storm of 2016, melting happened pretty quickly on the backside of that.
I have some friends that work outside, even over the winter, in construction, and they're trying to figure out, okay, if we get a foot of snow, how are we going to work the following week when this stuff is not going to melt? We got to find a place to put it. And with temperatures that are, we're not going to climb above 20 for some of these days. So how do we keep ourselves going and keep our business functioning here for an entire week after we get the snow?
I think it's going to be a challenge. And again, as you said, it's not something we're used to seeing. This is more like Midwestern type weather.
It is. We'll see what February brings, but I don't really see a thaw, at least for the rest of this month, maybe into the first couple of days of February. So if you love winter and you've been saying, where is it? It's coming. It's going to be here for at least a week, if not more.
And you were digging into the numbers. Again, this type of forecast we don't put out lightly because the last time we had a storm of this size was when?
So this was 2018. March of 2018, we had 14 inches of snow. We've had a good many 6-8 inch snows during that time frame between 2018 and now. Yeah. So last January we had a 6, I think it was like 6.8 or something like that. But to get an actual foot snowstorm, it's almost 10 years. 2016 was the biggest. That was 10 years ago. 2018 getting 14 inches of snow. So I would say we're due.
Yep. And you are going to be busy here tonight. So you're going to be on the 5, 6, 7, and 11. We'll have more CTV updates, of course, and as many updates as we can get on the web, abc27.com/weather. But we wanted to put this out there ahead of the shows. We have numbers. We want to show people it's not some type of state secret. It's out there for you.
And we don't really see much of any change that's going to be happening here, but we're going to be here, as you mentioned, all weekend long, the entire team, but that includes the reporters, the anchors of ABC 27. So it's one of those situations where we're all in this together here, and we'll be giving you updates throughout the entire weekend.
Yep. Thanks for watching in the near term. Have a good one.